A naked violation of the ceasefire. The Lebanese Prime Minister expresses fury over an Israeli commando raid. Good evening, this is Channel 4 News and Sport. The Israelis defend the raid, saying they were stopping a shipment of Hezbollah arms. But a senior UN envoy has said in the past few minutes that if media reports are true, the raid may constitute a clear violation of the ceasefire. Also tonight, a grandfather dies after confronting a gang of youths vandalizing a neighbour's car. Chaos in the mail. The government watchdog warns a third of post offices are unprepared for new charges on the size and weight of letters. And director Spike Lee's hard-hitting documentary on how the authorities failed New Orleans after Katrina.
What transpired there was a criminal act, and I hope somebody goes to prison.
And the sports headlines tonight. The Premiership's back, and Sheffield United strike a blow for the new boys, holding mighty Liverpool to a draw. Pakistan continue to pile on the runs at the Oval, stretching their lead over England to more than 300. And another shock for athletics as champion sprinter Marion Jones fails an initial drugs test.
If true, it would be a clear violation of the ceasefire, a senior United Nations envoy has warned after reports that Israeli commandos mounted a raid deep inside Lebanon. The Lebanese Prime Minister has threatened to halt the deployment of his country's peacekeeping troops unless the UN takes urgent action. One Israeli soldier and 3 Hezbollah fighters were killed during a dawn firefight in the Bekaa Valley near the village of Bodai. Israel said the mission was targeting weapons shipments from Syria and Iran, but it's raised fears the ceasefire could be shattered. John Sparks reports.
Robust and well equipped with strength in numbers, the UN peacekeeping force in Lebanon is supposed to be all of those things. But it's not that simple. 49 French engineers turned up today in Naqoura. Another 150 set sail this afternoon from France, but it's a long way off the objective of a 15,000-member UN force. The stakes are high. If the UN doesn't get thousands of peacekeepers into large areas of southern Lebanon by the end of next week, the Israeli withdrawal will stall, and that risks the renewal of hostilities. It's not the case, however, that the fighting has stopped. Far from it, in fact. The few remains of an Israeli commando raid last night near Baalbek, deep within Lebanon. The Israelis said they were acting in self-defense, preventing the smuggling of arms into Lebanon from Syria and Iran.
The UN Security Council resolution on Lebanon is very explicit. It says that Hezbollah cannot use the ceasefire to rearm, to receive more missiles and more rockets from Syria and Iran. That was happening, and Israel acted to prevent that from happening.
But the Lebanese government was outraged. The Prime Minister, Fouad Siniora, condemned the attack in discussions with the visiting UN Special Envoy. And Terj Road-Larsen said tonight that if the reports were correct, it would indeed be a violation of the ceasefire. Emboldened, Hezbollah claimed the moral high ground.
This is new proof that the Israeli enemy continues with its aggression over Lebanon and that it doesn't care about the resolutions taken by the UN Security Council. As we have said before, it has ambitions to acquire Lebanon.
Villagers have rejoiced at the sight of the Lebanese army moving into southern Lebanon, its first deployment here since 1968. With the support of the UN force, the army is now supposed to take command in the region. But the picture is confused. Hezbollah enjoys near total control here. It's been holding funerals today for its fighters, considered by many to be martyrs and heroes. It's also paying grants, $12,000 US in cash, to those who've lost their homes. And it's this control that unnerves those countries, particularly European ones, from contributing to the UN force. Hezbollah says it won't disarm, and few fancy the job of making them do it.
And an Israeli soldier has been shot dead in the West Bank, hours after Israel arrested the Palestinian Deputy Prime Minister. Nazar al-Sher, a leader of the militant Hamas group, was detained at his home in Ramallah after Israel accused him of being a member of a terrorist organization. He's the highest-ranking member of Hamas to be detained since June. Now, with me is the writer on Middle East affairs, Adel Darwish, to discuss the developments in the Middle East. First of all, the question of a breach of the ceasefire. The UN envoy said just in the last half hour he thinks there may have been one. Do you?
Well, there's two different stories, and it's impossible to check which version is correct. The Israeli version was that there's an armed shipment on the way from Iran via Syria coming there. They want to intercept it, and was sort of a bit of loose interpretation of the Security Council resolution. They probably have the right to do so. The Lebanese version, of course, that the Israelis disguised themselves as Lebanese army and so on. And the point is, as long as the international community has not put the multinational force on the ground to separate the two sides and not to give the Israelis the excuse to make this kind of movement, we're going to see more of those, I'm afraid. Well,
the concern is also that the Lebanese seem, in the reaction to this raid, to in a way be defending Hezbollah. We can't as yet verify the claims about the arms shipment. What do you think it tells us about the relationship between the Lebanese government and Hezbollah?
It tells us two things, really. One is no matter what color the government is, even the Christians who are traditionally against Hezbollah or the Druze will now have to be supporting Hezbollah. They defended their national honor, they defended their national land. They were actually part of the patriotic movement. But deeper than that, the Lebanese government might be finding an excuse or a way out of not confronting Hezbollah. The Lebanese army by itself cannot disarm Hezbollah. It does not have the means, it does not have the firepower, and a large number of the soldiers are Shia, they are relatives of the fighters of Hezbollah. So the Lebanese government might finding an excuse to wedge back on the agreement and not fulfill its obligation.
Very briefly, how serious do you think the situation as it's developing tonight is?
The situation is very serious. The daily friction between Hezbollah and between Israel, and unless the international community really put a number of soldiers, like the French, for example, one would expect them to put thousands rather than just 400. I'm afraid the situation could really break into another war.
Adel Darwish, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lawyers for alleged terror suspects being questioned by police are demanding their release, claiming police know there's not enough evidence to charge some of them. Every police force in the country is now involved in the investigation into the alleged plot to bomb transatlantic flights. Detectives have been given more time to question all 23 people who are still being held.
Concerned that a week ago the police knew that they were going to release some of these people without charge, and that there was insufficient evidence to charge some of them, and that despite that the police went ahead and applied for a warrant of further detention in order to place unacceptable pressure, and that this legislation, which increased the period of detention, has allowed them to do that.
Detectives in London have arrested a man and a woman as part of a wide-ranging investigation into a holiday website fraud. It's thought to have fleeced around £2 million from 3,000 holidaymakers. 5 travel sites are being investigated: sunmedresorts.com, unbeatableholidays.com, holidaysforunder200pounds.com, holidayres.com, and any customers are being urged to contact police. A grandfather has died in Liverpool after confronting a gang of youths who were breaking into a neighbour's car. James Barrett was looking after his grandchildren when the incident happened late last night.
The scene in Anfield remains cordoned off as Merseyside police continues to gather evidence in what's being treated as a major incident. Just before 11 p.m. last night, 62-year-old Jim Bennett, a retired dock worker, was at home with his wife Mary. They were looking after their granddaughter and grandson when they heard a disturbance outside. A group of youths had thrown a brick through the back windscreen of a neighbour's car. Witnesses say Jim Bennett rushed outside without even stopping to put his shoes or socks on and confronted the youths. He chased them down the street and into a nearby road. His wife and neighbours ran after him and found him collapsed on the ground. He later died at the Royal Liverpool Hospital.
It's horrendous. He's a man at home doing nothing wrong. He does the neighbourly thing, he hears some damage getting caused, goes out to see what's happening, and the next minute he's down at the end of the street. It's horrendous.
The close-knit community in this part of Liverpool has been shocked by the incident.
I am extremely upset, especially for his wife and family. What more can I say? It's a dreadful shock.
The police are now looking for at least 5 youths aged between 13 and 15 who are from the local area. They were wearing dark tracksuits and some had hooded tops. A post-mortem has revealed that Jim Barrett died of a heart attack. His family say they're devastated to lose a wonderful father, husband and granddad who would do anything for anyone.
Joanna Simpson reporting. At least 10 people have died and as many as 40 are feared missing after a boat carrying 120 illegal migrants sank off the coast of Sicily. The local Coast Guard said about 70 survivors were rescued from the boat, which is thought to have left from Libya. Italy's Interior Minister called for more cooperation to fight human trafficking. Size now matters when it comes to the mail. From Monday, you can't simply stick on a first or second class stamp. New post